Hey, Natalie. What's it like to be a racist? What's it like to be a rich person that doesn't give a shit about poverty or pollution? Yeah, you heard me. Third straight weekend of Black Lives Matter protests. Wow. If anybody has any evidence that Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd because he's a black man, let me know. I still have not seen any or heard any. And if you think that a white man killed a black man because of the color of his skin, pretty sure that makes you a racist. This should be about police brutality. Have you watched any videos lately? Police are beating up white people, black people, women, men, old, young. So just to say this is a black thing, a racial thing, police brutality is a racial thing is bullshit. The Los Angeles Police Department brutalized me. Can you see this fucking scar right there on my goddamn wrist? That's from a fucking handcuff. I'm white, by the way. What's up, Brownstein? How big of a racist are you? See, people don't want to change. They don't want to talk about the most serious problems. The most serious problems in the country right now are poverty and pollution. If George Floyd was getting $1,000 a month from universal basic income, he wouldn't have been trying to float a fake $20 bill. If George Floyd would have had a Rolex on his wrist and had $1 million, Derek Chauvin wouldn't have killed him. But Chauvin knew him. He worked with him. He knew he was poor. He knew he couldn't defend himself. And he took advantage of him. And that's what some cops do. They take advantage of poor people. Yeah, keep bullshitting me, Natalie. Your dumb viewers believe it. Have you seen what I've seen? This goes under the whole if it bleeds, it leads kind of bullshit. You know, I noticed under the Obama administration, they started really pandering to black people, CNN, and they're still doing it now, you know. The fact of the matter is about 90% of African Americans voted for the Democratic candidate for president the last two cycles. And so the mainstream media and CNN, this is pretty much like a Trump rally for them. And they think they desperately need the African American vote to have Biden win. But it's pretty sad. These people all just assume. And it's pretty sad how they villainize the police, and the police are fed up with it. And the police unions are fed up with it too. There's a lot of good police out there. I just wrote a blog on my website, and you can see it if you want. It's called My Experiences with the Police. And I wrote probably 24 experiences I've had with police all over the country and the world. And most of them were okay. Most of them were good. A couple of them were bad. Yeah, you know, if you want to say the African Americans have it so bad, how about Native Americans? You know, I've got Seminole blood in me from my dad's side, and so I think about them. I affiliate with them. Native Americans don't even have TV shows where they can talk about the ways they've been killed and marginalized and shoved on the reservations and pillaged over time, and how the Americas were stolen from all of them, and how they were tricked and lied to and screwed. You know, this is the popular thing to talk about for the liberals right now. Plenty of virtue signalers. You know, and the similar thing happened with gay people not too long ago. They finally saw them as a demographic that they wanted to lift up because it was profitable. They knew that they were going to make money off of their TV shows, and that they were going to pay taxes, and they wanted to give them marriage so they could get benefits, and so on and so forth. And so they took up that cause, and then they got it. And now the similar thing is happening with the African Americans. They have more power than they used to. They have more money than they used to. Some of them more influence than they used to. So they're gonna focus on them and try to get them more rights and things. But still, be that as it may, you know, I feel just as bad for African Americans as I do for the young generation, because by the time they get the respect that they deserve, they're going to inherit a shithole planet that's on life support, because everybody like Natalie wants to pollute the place like there's no goddamn tomorrow. Burning gasoline, burning coal, eating food that's not organic, using weird synthetic chemicals, eating meat, and just fucking the place up all day, all night. These people desperately want to feel like they're great people, and they're not. None of them are. They think that this exonerates them somehow or justifies them and their lifestyle and the choices that they make, and it doesn't. They can sing black people's praises all day long. They can put them on every TV show. Every late night comedian can stick a black person on their show in every slot they have. They can make all the pundits black, all the reporters black. Still doesn't matter. If they're going to eat garbage and live like a moron and screw up the planet all day and all night, then they're going to be judged for it. There's no redemption. There's no forgiveness. You don't go to court in front of a judge and say, well, look, I did this good. I did this well. I did this. The judge doesn't care what you did that was good. The judge is going to punish you for what you did that was wrong. Over his 19-year career. And listen, this is not anything new. This goes back many CNN keeps playing the same B-roll over and over and over in the same reports. It's pathetic. Can't this goddamn news station have news stories every hour? It's the same shit over and over and over and over and over. They desperately want to make it look like white people are in on these marches, and they desperately want to make it look like everybody's wearing masks. In 2015, Eric Harris say he couldn't breathe, and deputies on the Tulsa, Oklahoma Sheriff's Department told him. At least they're finally talking about the novel coronavirus a bit more, because it's spreading around and it's causing lots of problems, killing lots of people. As of today, more people have died from the novel coronavirus in the United States than all of the U.S. soldiers that died in World War I. According to worldometers.info, 116,800 some odd people have died in the U.S. from this virus. And that is actually more than all the soldiers from the U.S. that died in World War I.
I mean, listen, understand they're a lobbying arm of the police department, and they seemingly haven't seen a murder of a black man, woman, or child that doesn't excite them, and they work feverishly to get officers on those rare instances when they are fired their jobs back. But I believe police chiefs have a responsibility to the entity, and in sheltering and making sure, because civil liability often follows when there's a death or great bodily harm, officers benefit. How do you allow someone to maintain their position as a police officer when obviously they don't have the temperament? Something happened in the background check. They were able to slip through the cracks. Police departments are not psychologically evaluating officers periodically to make sure their head is in a good place.
This guy's Jewish, that guy's Jewish. That's kind of interesting, because some people think that some black people are related to Jewish people. And it kind of goes back to King Solomon time in the Bible with the Queen of Sheba and his 1,000 concubines and wives. And there's Jews called the Falasha Jews and Ethiopian Jews. Some people think the Nephilim might have had something to do with African people. Or the giants that were mentioned, or the babies that they were worried about. The angels of God went to the daughters of men. Be that as it may, it's a liberal thing. Liberal Jews, like to promote black people. And they have championed them for a while. Conservative Jews, not so much. Liberal Catholics, the same way. The liberal conservative Catholics, not so much. I used to think that the liberals and the Democrats were the ones who want free speech more than the Republicans and the conservatives, but they're really not. They want to control speech. They want you to speak a certain way. And they're ready to ban certain types of speech. And they don't want you talking a certain way. That can be seen with the major social media companies. It could be seen in lots of ways. And it's pretty sickening that they can't get the word houseless through their fucking mind. They still want to call people homeless. Everybody's got a home. It's called Earth. These people are called houseless people if they're sleeping outside.
With regards to banning of the chokehold, I mean, listen, we saw Eric Garner.
There's Ben Crump. He's an ambulance chaser.
Only to be told by authorities there and the union officials that wasn't a chokehold. That was a seatbelt upper body restraint. So what do you do when we see a thing, we know a thing, and they tell us that's not what we saw?
You tell me about it, baby. I saw a 75-year-old white guy get thrown down. I've seen white women get batons. I've seen white people get maced and tear gassed, shot with rubber bullets. So don't tell me that you see this correctly, and that this is a problem, a racial problem. This is a police brutality problem on every human being.
Also, some of London's most famous statues are boarded up now amid fears that groups are planning violent confrontations with anti-racism protesters in the coming hours. We'll have a live report about it.
I'm saying, I believe that there's some real weird stuff on the news in the mainstream media. The way that they're spinning this and running with this. But I believe that Black Lives Matter. But you know what? I don't believe that people should be vilified if they say all lives matter. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. But I heard that that's a bad thing. They said that on the news. Some lady saying that if you say all lives matter, you're clueless and you don't get it and you're not an ally. The weird thing, too, is that there's an actual organization called Black Lives Matter. And I don't know whether I support that organization or not. I need to know more about their leaders, their agenda, their past. All I know is several years ago under the Obama administration, Black Lives Matter organization was targeting police officers. And they seem like a terrorist organization for doing that. So, if you want to go protest, carry signs, fight for equal rights, go right ahead. But I'd be careful before supporting any group or organization. So you should know what they're all about. As I studied a lot of different cults when I was a Christian, and there's all kinds of different movements in Christianity that I wouldn't support because they don't follow the Bible. I was a literalist. I studied the Greek and the Hebrew. I got a PhD in biblical studies. So I was able to take the Bible and compare it to all the different religions, all the different sects and cults and denominations. And sometimes they were in line with the scriptures and sometimes they weren't. But this Black Lives Matter organization seems a little shady to me. You know, like Ice Cube says, he says Black Lives Matter is not chit chatter. All they care about is brain splatter or something like that. You know, they're into killing. So some people are just ignorant, though. They have no idea what these people are all about. And they're supporting the fact that Black Lives Matter. And they don't realize that they're actually supporting an organization. And the organization gets props and more advertisements from the media and things like that because they have the same name. It's kind of twisted, if you ask me. It's kind of like that for sale by owner sign. When I was a kid, my dad tricked my mom and said for sale by owner was actually a company. And she believed him, at least for a minute. Imagine that. Imagine a company called for sale by owner. You know, sometimes they wouldn't even allow somebody to have a duplicitous name like that. That's deceptive. I'm just so sick of all these people pretending like this. They know this is a race thing. You know, for one, if it was a racially motivated killing, then there would be a hate crime involved, and there'd be an extra criminal charge. But we don't see that in this at all. They're not even trying to prove that.
The U.S. is struggling to contain its coronavirus epidemic. There is a huge influx of new cases and hospitalizations in several states
weird looking.
as governors rethink their reopening strategies, some at least. So far, more than 2 million cases have been confirmed in the country and nearly 100,000
She's obviously using hair dye.
deaths. Health experts
Kind of funny on a news station where they want to act like they're telling you the truth. The first thing that you see when you look at this lady is a lie.
Reopening now on pause in Oregon and Utah as new cases mount. As long as we give the virus an opportunity,
and that reinforces what I said about her cluelessness and her pollution.
The governor of Texas looking to July 4th for a full reopening of his state as Harris County, which includes Houston, records some of its highest numbers to date for new cases and hospitalizations. We've got to take action now so that we avoid a shutdown in the future. Houston's Energy Stadium being prepped as a field hospital just in case. 19 states are trending up in the past week. Texas, Florida, and South Carolina posting single-day records.
You know, a lot of people want to make it bad people feel good and good people feel bad. Church is real good at doing that. But you know, you're always exactly 100% of what you are. Nothing you say is going to change what you've done and what you do.
The best way to stay safe, keep your distance, avoid travel, and wear a mask.
I know it's become politicized. Put that aside. The virus knows no politics.
Face coverings required in LA County, which moved into phase 3 today after recording its highest single-day increase this week. Gyms, day camps, and TV and film production among the businesses reopening. Missouri will fully reopen next week. Concerts and conventions.
Sounds stupid. You know, I think it's pretty shameful to talk about the economy in the middle of a pandemic when people are dying. If I had a relative that died and I couldn't stop hearing about politicians and pundits complaining about the economy and how it needs to be open, I think I'd be just pissed and writing them letters.
With a lot of people who are shouting and screaming, I think it's almost certain that we will see super spreader events come from these rallies. The CDC and the safety guidelines that it put out on Friday did have.
And the U.S. is just a rich country that is in tremendous debt and wants to act like the money isn't there when it is. Got a bunch of entrenched, twisted politicians leading this country. If there was universal basic income and if there was universal health care, we probably wouldn't be going through any of this bullshit. People would have the money that they need. They wouldn't need a stimulus. They wouldn't need $600 extra a week from unemployment insurance. If they had the health care that they needed, they could have went in and seen a doctor. They could have stayed at home. They could have gotten the health care they needed. But you know, we have some fucking misers in Congress that are preventing people from getting what they need because they want to keep it a segregated society.
It is not inevitable that you will have a so-called second wave in the fall or even a massive increase. If you approach it in the proper way, where you do the kinds of fundamental things. For example, there is some impression that when you open up, all bets are off. They are not all. You can improve on the economy, you can get people back to work, and still do the fundamental things like wearing a mask all the time when you're outside, of having this physical distance.
I think the masks are real spotty. Where there's laws for masks, I think most people wear them. And when there's no laws for masks, I think most people don't.
Good morning to you, Doctor. Thanks for being on.
Good morning, Natalie.
Well, as you've watched the U.S. response over the past few months with states reopening, each state different from the other, is it a surprise to you that cases are going up in some 19 states?
It's concerning, and unfortunately, it's not really a surprise. We sort of saw this coming when a few weeks back, many states.
I mean, they've said all along that they don't.
At the same time that actually
They just want to flatten the curve. That was the phrase from the beginning. They don't want to save everybody's life. They just want to make sure that people didn't overwhelm the hospital system. But now I think they're realizing that, you know, it's a weird political landscape where Donald Trump is losing popularity and voters are leaving him. But at the same time, more African Americans are dying and more old people are dying. So the Democrats are going to cross them off of their voting lists because they're not going to be alive. There's just an epic failure from the federal government, and they're still failing. There's no good testing regime in place. They responded way, way, way too late to this. There's been a piecemeal approach across the country, where just governors and mayors decided what to do about it.